Hi everyone, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I'm glad you're here with me today to continue on our story from that we're reading, The Hair Pulling Bear Dog, DJ Dillon series by Lee Roddy. And just to remind you, yesterday we came to quite an exciting end. It was on chapter 4 of DJ falling off the cliff, and there is a bear below him and the hound dogs and his dad. Whew. Well, we're just going to have to see what happens next. Let me put on my glasses. Okay. Oh, listen to this title: How to Ride a Bear. DJ didn't even have time to yell. In the darkness, he felt his feet touch something. His legs were forced apart. So, like normally your legs are like this. His legs were forced apart. He landed hard like a rider leaping onto a galloping horse. Automatically, the boy let go of the dog and grabbed for something to hang on to. As his fingers closed around coarse, thick hair, DJ shouted in surprise. Ah! He had landed on the bear's back. In the next instant, the boy was riding the bear backwards as it streaked for the brush. All the hounds bayed after it, but DJ's hands wouldn't let go of the bear's hide. He felt the hounds jumping and snapping at the bear, but they couldn't turn him. He was streaking for the brush. Above the barking and huffing, now the bear would be doing the huffing, and the turmoil, DJ heard the unmistakable sound of a rifle bolt working a shell into the firing chamber. He started to yell, "Dad, don't shoot!" But the bear swung its head around, and DJ felt hot breath on his backside. Remember, he's riding it backwards, and he could feel that hot air on him now from the bear's mouth. He threw himself sideways, falling off the bear into the brush and rocks. A yelping hound stepped on the boy's chest as he rolled, but the sound told him that the chase was at least going away from him. DJ scrambled on hands and knees to the shelter of a large boulder as a flashlight flickered. In the light beam, DJ saw enough of the bear to know it was the outlaw. It wasn't the outlaw. This one was a small 200-pound cinnamon-colored boar, or a male. The boy also glimpsed the little hair puller with his short tail tucked between his legs. The mutt was running flat out, scared away from the hounds and the bear towards the flashlight. The light beam flickered down on the dog just a second before DJ saw Zero run smack dab into the front of Dad's legs. Dad's angry yell came as he fell forward. He was falling over the dog. The rifle exploded. Boom! The muzzle light flash lit up the night. The hounds chased the bear into the darkness. A moment later, from the way they were baying, DJ knew they'd forced the bear to climb a tree. DJ scrambled to his feet and ran towards the flashlight, which had rolled partway down a little hill. Dad, you all right? I hurt myself, I think. Get that flashlight and let's see. Don't pay no attention to that bear. The dogs will keep him up that tree. DJ held the light while his father pulled up his tin pants to check his leg. The boy asked, "What happened?" "That fool hair puller made me fall and the rifle went off accidentally." "And did you see why?" That dog is afraid of bears. Now I know why Boot Maloney told me I don't want that mutt. DJ felt something touch his leg. He flipped the flashlight down. Bad dog, he cried at the sight of Zero. You ran away and Dad got hurt. The mutt lowered his head and tucked his stub tail. Zero dropped to the ground and raised his big brown eyes to the boy. DJ felt sorry for the little mutt. Dad said, "Hold that light steady so I can see there." In a moment he spoke again. "I think maybe my right knee's knocked cattywampus. Better camp here because I won't be able to walk out on this leg tonight." "But the bear," Dad interrupted. "That's a young bear the hounds put up that tree. He won't come down, so he's no danger to us. Better call off those hounds and chain them. Get a fire started." When the flames were leaping high and the hounds were quiet, DJ explained about the lip of the cliff caving in and him falling right on top of that bear. Dad chuckled. "If you're going to ride bears, you best wear spurs." Do you know what spurs are? Cowboys would wear them. They would go on their boots and they had little sharp, it was on a circle and they had little sharp points. And if they wanted their horse to go faster, they would tap them with that spur. And that hurt the horses. They didn't like it, so they would go faster. Now, I don't believe in spurs, but maybe if you're riding a bear. Let me see where I was. You better wear spurs. But as for that there ugly little hair puller, well, he's afraid of bears. He's totally worthless. We got to get rid of him. Maybe I can unload him on that Abbas feller. The Abbas were at Boot Maloney's before we were, Dad. Maybe Mr. Abbas knows the truth about Zero. Maybe, but we got to get rid of that dog. DJ was surprised to hear himself say, "Ah, Dad, maybe we should give him another chance." "No, that mutt's no earthly good." "He made you fall off the cliff where the bear could have hurt you bad. The dog knocked me down and gave me this here bad knee. I'll likely be off work for a spell. That means Abbas could chase the bear and take the reward all to himself. I've got half a notion just to leave that dumb beast out here in the mountains." "Ah, Dad." "I won't have no cowardly bear dog on the place. Now build up that fire and let's get some sleep." DJ awoke in the night to find Zero had snuggled up against his head. The boy reached up to shove the scruffy little dog away. Instead, he gave Zero a little pat. "Well, just for tonight," DJ whispered. A few days later, Dad was sitting with his legs stretched out straight on the homemade bench. He was in a bad mood from missing work. Grandpa was sitting on the front porch in his rocker. DJ was stretched out on the sofa trying to write a short story about a boy who rode a bear. He looked up at Grandpa and was surprised to see he was reading a small New Testament. New Testament is the part of the Bible that takes place after, well, at the time Jesus was born and after the time Jesus was born. Suddenly, Zero barked sharply. For such a small dog, he had the loudest voice DJ had ever heard. Dad hadn't figured out how to get rid of the mutt. The hounds began baying and rattling their chains as they ran out from under the house. DJ sat up. "Someone's coming." "See who it is, DJ." The boy went to the front screen and looked out. Grandpa was gently rocking, looking toward the creek. There was no sign of the Bible, but DJ saw a small square lump in the bib of Grandpa's overalls. DJ said, "It's Mrs. Higgins and Priscilla." Grandpa whacked the Irish shillelagh angrily against the front porch floor. "I knew it. That there widder woman," he means widow, "is a comin' to devil me. She'll want to fix up and clean and cook and make me look like a plumb fool." Dad shushed Grandpa and told DJ to make the dogs be quiet. The boy called sharply through the windows until the hounds quieted. Then he opened the front screen door and invited the visitors in. They spoke to Grandpa, who just grunted, and rocked hard. He was rocking hard. DJ hoped the old man wouldn't go over backwards again. The visitors were seated on the sofa. DJ took a seat on the other bench opposite of Dad at the table. Mrs. Higgins indicated a big wicker basket she'd placed on the floor beside her. "This is extra food we had left over from the church supper last night. It's more than Pris and I can eat, so we thought maybe you folks might enjoy it." Dad said, "You didn't need to come all that way out here to do that." Grandpa called from the front porch. "I should say not. Why, I'm as good a cook as any person hereabouts. You don't see my son or grandson looking poorly, do you?" The widow's face turned red. Her hands fluttered nervously. She protested, "Oh my, no, Mr. Dillon, sir. I didn't mean anything like that." Dad interrupted. "Don't pay him no never mind. He's just been having the miseries lately. DJ, why don't you take little Pris here and show her the new pups?" DJ's eyes widened in alarm. Just then Pris made a face at him. "Hound pups?" she asked. DJ sighed with relief. "Born yesterday. Not worth seeing much yet." Mrs. Higgins said, "We can't stay anyway. We have to go back. Choir practice tonight." Dad frowned. "You going to church in the middle of the week, Hannah?" She seemed concerned that Pa understand. "I know how you feel about church and preachers and such, Sam, but Brother Paul's a mighty good man. Why, the church is packed out every Sunday morning now. Isn't that right, Priscilla?" "Sure is." The girl looked at DJ and said, "Everybody comes from school practically, except you." DJ started to say he didn't go to church anymore, but his dad said it for him. "Besides," Dad continued, "there's no way for the boy to get there since old Miss Loomers got killed with my wife. Rest their souls. Sam, Pris, and I came to bring the extra food, as I said, but we also wanted to invite the three of you to next Sunday's service. We'll drive by for you." Grandpa bent over with laughter and pounded his cane on the floor. "That's a good one. Us go to church? Why, the whole world would probably fall apart if we did that." DJ was surprised to hear Dad speak firmly to his father. "That'll be enough of that. Now," he said, turning back to Mrs. Higgins, "I don't care none about going, but if you're mind to, DJ here, he'll be ready and waiting at the bottom of the hill, cross the creek come Sunday, go to meeting time." The next Sunday, DJ found himself sitting in church next to some boys that he knew from school. They whispered and passed notes, but DJ was quiet. His eyes kept going to Kathy Stagg. Her reddish hair caught the sun through the open window. Once he saw her looking at him, but she lowered her eyes and looked away. DJ wondered if she knew Priscilla and had told him on the drive into town what Kathy was telling everybody, that he was the cutest boy in Stony Ridge. Paul Stagg was a powerful speaker. DJ noticed that everyone called him Brother Paul. His giant voice rumbled deep in his chest and came out to shake the little church's rafters. He was preaching on love. When Jesus asked what was the greatest commandment, he said, "Hear, O Stony Ridge, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength, and with all of your mind." Luke 10, verse 27. The giant grinned. Well, maybe Jesus didn't say Stony Ridge in the Bible, but that's what he meant for us today, right here in this place. Now open your Bibles. DJ's mind wandered off. He wished he had a Bible. He'd never really cared before, but there was something about the way this big man said things that made DJ curious. Brother Paul had worked himself up into a pretty good voice when DJ's mind came back to hear what was being said. Now we all come to what they call application in preaching. That means, so what? What does that mean to me? Well, I'll tell you. More hungry, hurting strangers have been driven from God's house by unsociable church people. Sorry. That didn't work. Than by the poorest preaching in the world. Because I love you all, I can't stand by and let you do that. Maybe something you won't know until Judgment Day. So I'll tell you flat out what to do. Don't stand around the church and talk to your friends until you found a stranger. Greet him or her like you would your own flesh and blood. That means your family. But remember, the Bible tells us angels sometimes come as strangers. So after you've howdied and shook, that means howdied, hello, and shook their hands, take him or her by the arm and bring them to somebody else. Introduce them like they're your kinfolk. Now I'm going to say a prayer so you can all go home to supper. But don't you dare go until you see if you can find an angel in disguise as a stranger. The big man's good spirits and wide grin made everyone act friendly. They fairly ran around the little church, shaking hands and slapping each other on the back and hugging. By the time DJ got to the other door, he felt as if his arm had been about shaken off. Besides that, some of the women had tried to kiss him on the cheek. Ugh. He dodged them, though. A few of the men had ruffled his hair. Let's do this. Messing up somebody's hair. Which Dad had made him comb very carefully. DJ slipped out the side door while everyone else filed by the big preacher to shake their hands. The boy stood under the lightning-struck ponderosa pine and looked at the church. It looked the same as when he came there with his mother. The white frame structure had been newly repainted. The June sun glistened on the fresh coat of paint. The corrugated sheet iron roof was still rusted, where the snows had melted and run down it for years. The open belfry was pocked with thousands of holes where woodpeckers had stored their acorns. Now, belfry is where the church bell would be, so that they could ring him. Ding dong, ding dong. The bell rope was new, however, and hung from the bell that could be heard from miles away. But something was different, DJ knew. Maybe it was the singing. His mother had always sung in church. Sometimes she even played the guitar. Whatever it was, the boy felt a nice warmness that he couldn't explain. Suddenly, he heard loud laughter. He turned to see Nels Abbas standing by his father's black pickup truck at the curb. "I knew it!" the older boy yelled. "You go to church and sit with the women." DJ swallowed hard. "I go where I want and nobody stops me." Nels worked his rough-looking hands. He's just like, doing that. "I know somebody who can make you wish you'd stayed inside with the women and the little kids." DJ started to answer when he sensed someone come up behind him. He turned to see the lay preacher's daughter standing beside him. Kathy Stagg said softly, "Don't pay any attention to that bully. Mom and Dad sent me with a message for you. They said you're invited to take supper with us today." "I can't. I got a ride home with Mrs. Higgins. Daddy says he'll see to it that you get home before nightfall." "Well, I'd like to, but my Dad and Grandpa would worry." "No, they won't. Dad had Mrs. Higgins tell your folks you'll probably stay for supper with us." "You sure?" "I'm sure." She lowered her eyes, and the reddish hair fell across her face, hiding it from the boy. He hesitated. "Well," he said finally, "I guess it's okay. Maybe he'll tell me some more bear stories." As DJ started towards the church with Kathy, he heard Nels Abbas' rough laughter and some jeering words. "Someday," DJ thought, "I'm going to have to deal with that guy, even if he's stronger than I am." And that is the end of chapter 5. Well, that was an interesting story. How it started with him riding the bear and ended with him going to go to the pastor's house for supper. We'll see about that tomorrow when we read chapter 6. DJ makes a dangerous decision. Oh man, I wonder what he's thinking about now. And again, it just shows that simple picture of the dog. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. And I hope you have a wonderful night's rest and a good day tomorrow. I'll be talking to you tomorrow. We'll continue with chapter 6. All right. Good night. God bless you. I love you.